testing out and getting started with our first podcast of Warrior versus Zombie. And Rickey Jean Wright here in the studio with me, and we're going to get set up here. And this is a practice run, and actually we're training and learning at the same time. So we're going to ultimately have a podcast out of here that'll be showing up for you on next Wednesday at 5 o'clock on the podcast sources, wherever you get your podcasts, on iTunes or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. But for now, we're going to be going this, and we'll go live. We're going to record it, and so if we make some mistakes here, don't worry about it, and we'll have some fun.
2 guinea pigs.
2 guinea pigs, right? Yeah, we're both working on this, and Rickey's actually going to launch his podcast, so we'll probably be practicing on that. I don't know if we'll do that live or not. So anyway, give us a second, and we'll get started, and then we'll come right back. So now I do start the music.
Just first off, right click on it to reset the music. Just right click. Okay. So now press play. Start. Big start. Yep. Offline.
And then offline?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, the volume of the music is turned all the way down. Turn it back up. Yep. Now, before you start to fade out, you'll want to, before you do that, not now, nope. Before you do that, you need to turn your mics back on.
All right, we're back, and heard a little snippet of my friend Rickey Jean Wright here, who's my guest as well as my co-host. So we're gonna start off this podcast a little bit by just talking about what it is that's going on in the world, and then we'll get into kind of how Rickey and I came to be talking today about his journey and a couple of other things that he'd like to share. And Rickey's a warrior in my book, and as you know, Warrior versus Zombie podcast is not a description. He's not the zombie and I'm the warrior or anything else. We both have the zombie and warrior inside us here. One of the fundamentals of this podcast is that all of us are moving forward, hopefully with our own intention, and towards a vision of a future that we believe, and we've been on a journey when we've gotten here. And along the way, we have predominantly inner zombies, I would say. We have these things that hold us back, that tell us different things, but we also have encounter zombies along the road. So the intention really is to basically cover that and talk about some of those things, and I'm excited about the journey. This normally will be a live broadcast, by the way, for those that are going to tune in every Wednesday or thereafter in their various podcast sources. So the mistakes will be real. Just like on Facebook Live, if you're watching on Facebook Live, you're going to see all the false starts and the things that I don't know what to do, and Rickey's gonna.
But it'll be fun.
But we're gonna have fun, and that's the main thing. So it's live, raw, unedited, and hopefully it won't be too explicit. So I don't think I'll have to mark the explicit language or whatever they call it on the podcast world. So anyway, Rickey Jean, welcome.
So we're supposed to be keeping time of how long we're going?
Yeah, but we're going to edit this one anyway. So,
okay.
So yeah, let's try and keep it. Our target for these podcasts are going to be about 45 minutes, and end to end. So and we'll take a couple of breaks along the way probably. But anyway, so first thing is, what did you come in thinking about on your mind in the news today? Anything particularly? It has to be something around the coronavirus or something. I'm getting ready to get on a plane tomorrow, and there's all kinds of panic. I'm actually flying to Seattle, so everybody's kind of like freaking out, saying, "I can't believe you're going to Seattle." And I said, "Well, my granddaughters are there, so I'm going to Seattle." But what are you thinking about? What kind of?
Well, I thought it was kind of crazy that the city of Austin decided to cancel the music event there, the South by Southwest. I mean, it's just like it's a week away, and boom, they just kind of panicked, I think.
Yeah, we're not public officials, so we're not burdened with making those decisions, so it's easy for us to second guess. But as a musician and somebody who loves music, I'm sure that
Disappointing.
that would be very disappointing. I got a son down in Austin, and he's like gone into mourning here as far as not having. He's actually works South by Southwest and stuff down there, and so yeah, it's kind of, that was a sad thing. I think it was a sad decision. I don't know if it was a good decision or a bad decision, but it was a sad decision. So I would agree with that. So, but
And that's close to home to us.
Mhm.
We're here in Texas.
yeah.
Of course, they're talking about what are they going to do with the Olympics. So I mean, wow,
Yeah, and I got another family connection there. I got a daughter and we've got somebody in Richardson Plano Networkers, which little mini advertisement there that we have in Michaela that actually is taking some of my family to the Olympics in Tokyo. So, assuming they continue on with that, so that would be another disruption in my family. So hopefully I don't have to experience that disappointment, and hopefully we get over the hysteria. I guess my point of view kind of slipped out.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it is unedited. We probably won't edit this part out. So tell me a little bit, Rickey. I mean, I know a lot. I mean, Rickey, just to give you a little bit of background, Rickey Gene Wright is a singer-songwriter. He's got over 35 songs. I mean, you can correct me on the actual number, but I know a lot of them because I own anyone that he's put out in the streaming or on CD. So I'm excited about getting a chance to talk to you. We've grown pretty close over the last few months and doing some things. And I know a little bit. One of the beauties of Rickey when he's doing his thing, when he's singing and sharing his music and his songs, is that he tells stories. And so that's one of the reasons why I was excited. What little bit you heard coming in on the music is a song that he actually claims was inspired by me, which I am honored by that, and we'll let you hear that whole song throughout this podcast, and it'll be definitely ended. If we didn't get through it at the end of the podcast, hang around and you'll hear the verses, but it's actually extremely moving to me, and it actually says a lot about this podcast, so it's kind of our theme song. So with that, Rickey Gene, how did you get into this music thing? I mean, I love music. I've loved music all my life, and I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point, maybe even on your podcast, about how it kind of provided a soundtrack to my life. But how did you get into being a singer-songwriter, doing this? What inspired you to do that?
Well, it's kind of a mystical thing, because I can't remember when I said, okay, I'm a singer-songwriter. I always was, even as a young kid, making up funny little songs and entertaining. And whenever I was 8 years old, my mother, I think, was tired of me messing with her guitar, and she was a musician, and so she went down to the drugstore and bought me a drugstore guitar at 8 years old, and I started writing little songs and trying to be the entertainment, I guess. And I guess I really never really thought about that one day I'm going to be a singer-songwriter. I just kept on doing that, and as I got to be a teenager, I started thinking of maybe more serious things to write about. And then in my 20s, I really started writing some songs I think that were worth keeping. So, and one of those songs actually made it to an album that's on the streaming channels right now. So it was written in my 20s, and it made it in 2015 on the airways. So I guess it was really when I was.
What was that song?
It was Frank and Jesse James.
Frank and Jesse James. Yeah, I've heard that one. So that was kind of the first one that made the big time, huh?
Well, that song kind of made a turning point in my life as a songwriter, because I wrote that song whenever I was in the band there at the Mesquite Opry House.
Okay.
And we had gone as a band and had entered a contest in, Battle of the Bands thing, and we won, and we got to go and record a couple of songs, and that song was one of them. And then I guess 20 something years passed, and a person that was in that band called me from Nashville and said, "Hey, Rickey Jean, voice from the past, you know who this is?" And I said, "Mike the drummer." He said, "Oh yeah." Says, we've been playing your song here in the bars in Nashville ever since I got here in the middle '80s. He had a recording of it. All the band members got a little recording of what we did. And he said, "You have that song copyrighted, or you have that song registered with ASCAP or BMI?" And I said, "No, but I will tomorrow. Call me back." So that pushed me forward and made me think, well, if
Made you become a professional, right?
if somebody liked a song that I've written and keeps teaching it to bands that they've been in for 20 something years, maybe some of the other songs are worth listening to. So then I made a definite step trying to figure out how I'm gonna get these songs registered with the right organization so that I get credit for them, if somebody wants to play them.
So the songwriting and stuff. And then getting into now, actually, you've expanded that even further, because you're actually not only writing songs that other musicians write, but obviously you sing those songs, which are out there now. And so you've obviously gone through the journey and learned all the mechanics. It almost sounds like, though, it kind of was in there, but it was kind of the circumstances that led you to continue to pursue it were almost happenstance. They were almost you were kind of going along and doing something, maybe something to make money, right? Is that what is
true?
And then this was kind of was it a side hustle, or just a hobby, or just a passion, or how would you describe that?
It was. I never thought it was a side hustle. I always thought it was just a part of me.
Okay.
I just didn't realize that. I may have told you this before. I didn't realize that the songs were that good, and so you always have self-doubt and stuff.
Yeah, actually, that's the zombie that we're talking about. That self-doubt, that I'm not good enough, wherever that comes from. And I'm not going to do a psychology session here, but that's a pretty common human complaint.
And I told you
I didn't think I was good enough, right?
I told you I was very surprised the first time someone cried whenever I sang in public a song that I wrote about meeting an elderly man in a cafe in deep southeast Texas, and he invited me to come over and sit down with him, and he told me he was just there waiting on his time, just come here and sit down with me. And so I took everything that he pretty much said to me and put it in a storytelling song. And so the first time I sang that song and I could see that someone was tearing up and wiping tears, I was like surprised, like, are they crying because it's a good song? And apparently it touched some emotion. And when that happened, I realized this is what I'm supposed to do. So kind of step by step by step.
So that's kind of the history, and let's take a little minute here and hear a little bit more of some of your new music, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about why you're doing what you're doing, and kind of where you go from here, and some other things you want to share. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
All right, guys, we're going to come back to you in a second here with Warrior versus Zombie. This is Dave Roberts, and we're going to move on to the next segment in here in a second. What do I do?
Press play on the music, on the song.
On the song. Sorry.
No.
This is why we're practicing, guys.
Yeah, right there. Very good.
This is kind of fun, but it's kind of, you're kind of like, okay, now what was that? It's kind of, I'm going to let this play for a few seconds. So, you do these breaks like 30 seconds, or what's the...
Yeah, usually 30 to 45 seconds typically is what I do. Or if it's a commercial, like you had an advertiser, you could play a commercial.
So if I'm doing like commercial or promo, do I do that when I come back, or do that before I go to,
No, that's usually is my break.
Okay, so if you're not just doing the music,
If you listen to my show, like we'll have...
I have, but I'm just not...
Sure. No, I'll do music to start.
Mm-hmm.
The breaks I do in the middle are typically at my advertisers.
Okay.
So
you do music kind of at the beginning and the end, and then in the middle it's people that you want to promote. You want to promote on the thing. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. That's how I do it. I'm not saying you have to do it that way. That's just what I do.
Yeah. And do you do that with just raw, or or you have some produced ones too, and what?
I have both. Yeah. So when you're ready to come back, you make sure you turn your mic back on. No.
Yes. So we're back, and that was a little more of "It's Not the Getting There," which when you listen to the whole song here, and if you don't get it all on this podcast, we can find it now out on YouTube, iTunes, right? Any pretty much anywhere.
Spotify,
anywhere you
Apple
listen.
Music.
Yeah, look for Rickey Gene Wright, and It's Not the Getting There. It's newly dropped as of a day or so, right?
Yesterday.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, when we left last, Rickey, we were kind of talking about a little bit of your origin story, how you came to do this, and some of the things along the journey that you encountered. As you look at it now, what is it? What are you trying to do here with music? Why do you do what you do? That's kind of my, as a warrior, if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, it's kind of hard to keep at it every day, because it's a daily journey, right? It's something you do every day. And I know I've seen you very busy in doing what you do, and you're moving down the road, and you're on your journey, and it's not easy. It's never easy. I don't care what kind of warrior you are. If you're a warrior for music, if you're a warrior for health, if you're a warrior for business, and you have a reason, right? You have a unique why or reason that's moving you forward. What would you say that is? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I think whenever you do something and you get a feeling that you've never had doing anything else, and then it awakens something in you, and you say, that's what I'm supposed to do. So people look all their life for that feeling, and this is the place I'm supposed to be, this is what I'm supposed to do. And that only really happened to me whenever I was at a house concert, which is a really cool thing. It's not something new, something that's been going on really since the 70s, all over the United States and Europe and Canada, and maybe other places too, where there's actually a listening audience, where people are actually listening, hanging on every word of the song, hanging on the stories in between the songs. And I was at a house concert, and I sang that song, Waiting on My Time, and it was a little light came on that this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to
Because you saw the emotional impact that it had on the person, you realized you were...
And nothing else I've ever done gave me that feeling or gave the people that I was, you know, serving,
That's
you know,
fascinating.
that feeling. And so I've always been a sponge, always been thinking, well, that's a good hook, that would work for a song. And I've always told people, be careful when you find out someone's a songwriter. Whatever you say, it could wind up in a song. And so that's how this song that we just were listening to came about. I guess it's been a couple of years now. I've been in business network meetings where you have said, thank you everybody for coming and spending the most valuable asset you have, and it's your time. And so that was sinking in, and finally I said, you know, what he's really saying is it the destination or is it the journey? And he's saying it's the journey. So in my Texas, or my East Texas way of saying it, I thought it's not the getting there, leaving the G off, you know.
Of course.
And then the rest of songwriting for me is very mystical. I don't really work at it. It just kind of falls out. And that's exactly what happened on this song. There's no massaging of the lyrics or anything. Pretty much what I thought on the first run through is what we have on the song. But the inspiration, someone saying something, sometimes just one time, and that's all I need. But in this case, I heard the same thing over and over and over at network meetings that you were hosting.
Right.
And it finally dawned on me that you were saying something really important. You weren't just saying bye to, you know, or thanking everybody for being there. And so that's how this song came about. That was the inspiration. Made me think, yes, time is worth more than the gold.
Wow. You know, I'm so honored that you would even say that there's an inspiration there or something. That's one of the things I think we all hope. I have 5 children, and we all hope that you know, what comes out of our mouth or what we do in our lives, somebody will take it on and go with it and have an impact beyond ourselves or to a bigger audience. Is this one of those? To me, and maybe I'm a little biased because the message is so close to my heart and soul, but I don't believe it's a message that other people won't resonate with too. You know, some people say, "Oh, I don't like Americana, I don't like rock, I don't," you know, they have an opinion of the type of music, but the message there is so powerful that you've communicated in such a 4-minute time frame, right? Which I think is one of the powers of music myself. What do you think when you made a couple of mentions already of how the house concert or the listening audience, and it's very clear that that's something that resonates with you, but obviously I think you see because of the emotional impact. When you think about those people in that listening audience, what do you think is the value, the unique value? And I'm not looking in an egotistical way here. I'm asking you, what do you think those people get out of what you're doing, or what, how you're serving your audience? What do you think is behind all that?
I think they get to forget about normal life, and they can have fun. They can, and sometimes being emotional and tearing up about something is still fun. I mean,
Sure.
It's pulling at your heartstrings. And I've had people to tell me after we break, we have the first set, we take a break, and they'll say, that song that oh my gosh, that song that you wrote about your mother, it made me think of my mother, and it just kind of warmed my heart. So there are things that happen that I don't know are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And there are funny things that happen. There are tearing moments
Mm-hmm.
that happen. But it's almost like, well, it really is like every single concert is a special event that'll never happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how each day is in our lives, is that we'll never come this way again. We'll never be here again at this time doing this thing with these people. And it's a timestamp, and I'm just glad to be a part of the timestamp.
Well, and that's kind of what we're doing now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We actually went live with something that's going to be imperfect in its own form, and I'll probably do that every Wednesday here at Warrior versus Zombie. As it'll not be perfect, but it is perfect for that moment, and it is what we've put or invested in that.
Mm-hmm.
And what you described to me is inspiration, by the way. When you're talking you inspire your audience, and the thing is, you're on your journey, and your songs are describing your journey to you, and when you wrote them, but they convey kind of like a soundtrack or a story to me. I may hear one of your songs, and when I think of Waiting on My Time, I think of my grandparents and people in my life that I've seen just kind of waiting to die, and that says a lot to me. I have to tell you that the first time I heard that, I teared up. I tear up thinking about the first time I heard that, and it's because at times, and it may be a timing thing, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, waiting on my time, it's not the getting there, knowing the story behind that, but also it speaks to a story that goes in my life. So that's very cool. It's very powerful. Where are you going with this?
Well, I'm not.
What's your destination? What, if anything were possible, Rickey Jean, where would you be on this journey of your singer-songwriter music journey in your life?
I would be very, very satisfied to sing with small groups, never a large band, never at the Los Angeles stadium, the big stadium out there. I would be very satisfied to keep going like I'm going, performing at small listing venues, and one day people look back and say that Rickey Jean Wright wrote some really good songs. And one of my favorite Texas songwriters, who was from Texas, Guy Clark, he said that he just wanted to be remembered as a guy who had a bunch of good songs in his satchel. And that's really where I want to be. Is I want to be known as a good songwriter, and I know that there's better singers than me, there's better musicians than me, but I just present my songs in my way. And what I've noticed is that I have a duet partner, and she wants to sing some of those songs that I've written, and when she sings them, they're a little bit different, and they're a little bit she expresses the song a little bit different, and that's really a cool feeling, is for someone to say, I want to sing that song, and I want to put my touch on it, and and possibly one day other people will want to do that with my songs. One of the things that I have laughed about is that I write songs in Americana style, that they can be folk-oriented, singer-songwriter-oriented, country, bluegrass, storytelling. So it's kind of a wide variety of different songs. I was at a singer-songwriter thing, and I sang, several songs, and I got down, and the person got up who was the MC, and he said something that made me think about, I need to think about what order I put, my songs in here. because I had sang a song about my mother, and then I'd sang a couple other songs, and I sang a song about actually an imaginary person that I was thinking about, a hooker from old Galveston before 1900. And so the MC gets up and he says, well, Rickey Gene Wright, he's really a prolific songwriter. He writes songs about his mother and hookers. And I was thinking, oh my mother ever.
If my mom ever heard that, oh, I'm in trouble. Yeah.
So, but I do I write such a wide variety of songs, but then I start thinking, maybe I should be careful about how close I sing those songs together.
So the sequencing. So what I hear there is a pretty interesting thing. You really told me that songwriting is really, I mean, performing is something you like to do, and that's a way of expressing your message. But it's not that you're protective of who performs it. In fact, you're wanting. I got to tell you a secret. Okay, you want to hear it?
All right.
I hear you tell you. I sing your songs already.
Oh, right.
So that's part of the impact of the message, the impact of the song itself. I mean, I don't do it as well as you or the same as you, and nor does Denise, your partner, or whoever else would sing your music. And it sounds like in your songwriting is a lot of your soul, is a lot of those nuggets that you want to make sure outlive yourself and go beyond yourself. And so it's more that you don't necessarily, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that you don't aspire necessarily to be on stage in front of millions of people, but you'd love to impact millions of people through the message that you're delivering. And that's the case with actually somebody who's in business here or in healthcare, or somebody listening to this podcast. They may say, well, how does what Rickey Gene Wright's doing as a songwriter, what does that mean to me, right? I often say to some of my clients and people, they say, many times we all die with the music in us. And our music might not be a song written in a songwriting form. It might be a book, it might be a product, a service, things that we say, hey, I'm not good enough. Why would anybody want that, right? So you've given us a lot of thoughts there. Let's take a quick break here, and then we'll come back and wrap this up. I'm going to give people a chance to understand how to get in touch with you, and give an opportunity to share the things that we've already shared here with their audience, and then we'll come right back.
All right.
Thanks. Okay, so the question I have is, if I want to, like with this track, if can I keep it to where it doesn't go back to the beginning every time?
Yeah.
So how does that work? I mean, you can show me after.
Just when you don't right click on it, just press pause.
Okay.
So see, like it has that pause button right now. If you click it, it'll just stop right there and stay right there.
Okay. That's what I really.
And then you unpause it.
Correct.
Right. So, what else you want to? Anything else you want to share? I mean, that was really good. I enjoyed it.
It's 31 minutes.
Okay. So we got 15 minutes before we're
we don't have to.
Before we're wearing them out. So,
Yeah, I would say a good half hour is a good measuring.
That feels like the right amount of time,
Yeah.
at least for this conversation. I think maybe in some conversations, if the stories are longer or more intense, or you don't want to cut them off, I kind of think that might. I mean, again, I'm learning this. I don't really know if you've got a lot more experience. So
Yeah, it just depends on the interview. Sometimes I go 45. Sometimes it's 32. It just depends on the content and if, did we accomplish what we were trying to do. And so every interview is a little different.
yeah, what I'd like to do in this.
You're finding the urns up on the frame.
in this last segment really is just kind of wrap it a little bit. Kind of anything you'd like to leave the audience with, and then if you have any, hey, we're going to be playing here or there, or how they can find you on the internet, and because I haven't done a really necessarily good job of that, whatever you can communicate here, it doesn't have to, they're not going to necessarily listen and go to your website or your schedule. Does that make sense, Rob? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And then talk about our, again, reinforce our.
If it were me, I would close it out. Hey, we've talked a lot about you. How can I send people your way? What's the best way for them to find you? What's your website?
Yeah,
When's your next
that's what
performance? And you want to give out a contact number, and then kind of wrap it up, thank him, and then we can close it out, and then we can flip, and then you can interview David.
Okay.
I like that.
All right, Ricky, we're back. Wow, what a journey we were on there, huh? That's pretty cool stuff. I think we're going to kind of land the plane here, if that's okay with you. But I really don't want to land the plane before you give me a chance to let the audience know how they can find you and learn more about you. There's you're so multi-layered, multifaceted. It's got so many cool things. I've known you for. Actually, we've been together for about 6 years now, really. I mean, when you think about our journey. So, networking, and gotten a little closer. And
the Richardson Plano networkers. That's where we really.
Yeah, and it's an amazing group of folks, and anybody that's looking, they're in Richardson, Plano, or North Dallas area. It's worth your time to check out the group. There's about 1,500 members, and it's a lot of fun, and has grown and grows by one person every day. So
1,500 don't meet at one time, but there are 1,500.
We serve about 70 a week between the two meetings, so it's good. So how do we get in touch with you?
Well, since I've been learning in network marketing meetings, you can actually Google Rickey Gene Wright and find just about anything you want to.
Maybe more than you want to know.
That's Rickey GeneWright. You can also Google Americana singer-songwriter, and you can also go to americanasingersongwriter.com or rickygenewright.com, and on that web page, there's a link right on the first page of calendars, where you could go and see where I'm playing. There's also on that very first page, there's a lot of information that you don't have to go anywhere else but right on that very first page. And we're invited, me and my Americana singer-songwriter duet partner Denise Owen. We're actually playing at the Greenville, Texas Freedom Folk Festival on March the 14th. It starts at 2 in the afternoon and goes till 9 o'clock at night, and we're one of the 6 or 7 acts that were invited to play. It's in the Texan Theater, which has been remodeled. The owner spent like $5 million on it. It's really a really nice place. And this is the very first Greenville Freedom Folk Festival, the very first one. So we're really tickled to be invited to be a part of that first one. So, and that's just around the corner, March the 14th, on a Saturday. Greenville, Texas is only 45 minutes from where we're sitting right here.
Any places closer that are coming up that you want to talk about that they can at least see you?
Well, I do. I have wound up at Cheers to Porta de Roma on Monday nights, and they're all by myself singing, and I don't sing the whole time. It is a meeting of friends,
Right.
and I'll probably sing,
An hour.
45 minutes or an
45
hour
minutes to an hour,
or
yeah.
something. And that is in Richardson, Texas, across the parking lot from the Eisman Center. And they got great food there too at Porta de Roma.
And other than the food, it's pretty much free, right? You get happy hour pricing and everything, so it's a good opportunity to see, experience your music and meet some new friends and do some. I'm probably one of the key listeners in that room usually. So, well, that's awesome, Rickey. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you, those that have joined us on first episode practice and also final episode. First episode. This is going to be the first episode of Warrior versus Zombie, and truly want to say, Rickey, I thank you for being a warrior on your journey to your vision, and you've made an impact on me, and I know you're making an impact on a lot of people, and I think your vision is going to become a reality. And so with that, if you want to continue on with our next guest and continue on with the Warrior versus Zombie, tune in on Wednesdays on all your favorite podcast sites. We will be live on Facebook, and hopefully it'll be a little smoother in the next time and the next time. And again, it's a journey, so we're going to continue to get better as we go. But I think this was pretty awesome for me anyway. So thanks, Rickey, and thank you for joining us. And I'm going to pick up with the rest of It's Not the Getting There as we close out this episode of Warrior versus Zombie. And I'm Dave Roberts.
It's not the getting there. It's the journey every day.
Not bad for your
So what do you
first
think, Coach?
Not bad for your first one. It's just kind of getting used to the transitions, right?
Yeah, that's a little clunky. And I felt it. I mean,
Yeah.
I felt the clunkiness, but
Yeah. That's just experience, so I've been doing this so I could.
but if
do
you
it
look
right.
at my description on Spreaker of my podcast, it says unedited, authentic, live, right?
Okay, you can click on broadcast, and then just click on the red right there.